Hi, everyone. Welcome to some simple steps to analyze your dream based off Robert Johnson's dream interpretation. So give me a second and let me share my screen. So this is kind of a modified version based on Robert Johnson's Dreamwork. Uh, it's Robert Johnson is a Jungian analyst, has wrote some numerous books on the subjects of Jungian psychology and how to take that information and apply it to our own lives. I think Robert Johnson is a fantastic source if to kind of introduce yourself to Jungian works. It's pretty accessible. He tries to write it for kind of a lay audience, so those could be a good starting points. Understand as well, some of the information is outdated. Many of his works were published in the late 60s, early 70s, and so yes, a lot has changed even culturally since then. So the book that I'm kind of inspired from today, um, here, let me make the full screen of this, is Robert Johnson's Inner Work, Using Dreams and Active Imagination for Personal Growth. So this is where I got the steps from how to kind of use a Jungian perspective to analyze our dreams. Understand that I've added my own kind of flavor to these components. I am not following the steps directly to the T as he's written in the books. I've been using kind of my own process for dream work for a few years now, and this is kind of a modified version of the steps. So what I first recommend is once you have a dream to record it in some manner. So for me, I have a dream journal. Others can use, other people have used audio recordings or even video recordings. Somehow you just want to get the information that occurred in the dream and record it in some manner. Preferably, it is easiest to do as soon as you wake up from sleep. But I understand life gets in the way. There have been many times I wake up and I still cannot remember the dream until I am doing something during the day that creates some sort of reminder. And it can be almost like a flood of memories to that dream occurs to me, and then I write it down and I have kind of a snapshot of what happened in the dream. If you feel stuck in trying to write the dream, that's okay. The process of just writing can sometimes loosen up any associations or memories of a dream. The other thing, too, is you don't have to be exact. The more you do dream work, you realize that there is kind of a filtering between what happened in the dream and what we focus on. If you think about it, we're kind of deconstructing the dream and morphing it alchemically in a way to a new kind of situation. So essentially what I mean, it is okay if things are not exactly as they happened in the dream. Try your best to create some sort of narrative, some sort of representation of the dream. If things are missing, that's okay. If you're not sure if this is exactly what happened in a dream, you can still write that down. Not all the details need to be there. And again, it is common as you continue to work through the dream, more associations or memories may come to light. So before I move to the next slide, dreams are very complex. I fully believe we'll never be able to fully retell any dream. And instead, it is focusing on themes, the images, the associations we have the dream, than rather being an exact recollector of what occurred during our sleep. So step two. So once you have the dream written down, during that process, it's helpful to notice if there's feelings happening or appearing when you're writing the dream. What are you feeling as you write it out? What were you feeling during the dream? What are you feeling now as you recall the dream? Are there any images that come to mind as you write? And sometimes they can be very vivid. You can have a specific memory that comes up as you're writing about the dream. You can remember certain other dreams that have occurred or any associations that may appear. So associations are essentially any connections, images, sensations, thoughts, even smells that we have as we talk about and write about the dream. So it's important, or it can be important and helpful, to keep track of this information as you're writing the dream out. So once you're completely finished writing the dream out or recording the dream, go back to it. See what images or themes are present in the dream that resonate with you. Whatever images come up or themes, focus on them. And again, record how you feel about these images and see if there's any other associations. Does this image remind me of something else? Or, you know what, I don't see why this is relevant, but I'm having, a very vivid childhood memory right now. I'm not sure why, but I can write that down, save it for later, and see if that is connected as the steps continue. So at this stage, questions to ask yourself. Again, what feelings are being brought up as I record the dream? Keep track of those. Notice how you are feeling. What words, images, themes, or ideas come to mind with the content from the dream? And another element is, as you write down the dream, notice what words you used as you write down. Are there words that can have more than one meaning? Are there words that are connected to any sayings? Is there a slogan, a sentence, a motto that comes up when you're writing it down? One way to think of this is, as you write this down, if you had to give a headline to the dream, and a headline is typically an action that happened to someone, what would that be? Is there a story that kind of has similarity to this? Could be some sort of myth or folklore. Is there similar themes that come up that are connected to mythology? So be aware of the stories that are being brought up. Be aware of the words that are being used. Is there words that are occurring in the dream that are not being used? So we always want to see the whole picture, and that will be another step as we go on, but just kind of focus on what sayings are being used. Is there common kind of folklore themes? What is coming to mind as I write this down? Again, there's really no perfect way to do this. It is just allowing kind of the opportunity to see what comes up with inside of us and how that connects to not only our personal lives, but culture, society, history, family, etc. Throughout this whole process, it's helpful to remember to use our intuition. So at times, this whole process can feel very overwhelming. We can be overloaded with associations depending on how much kind of emotional energy a dream had. And we can almost feel lost or overwhelmed. It's easy to get stuck on kind of a thought train by all these associations or thinking, and we can kind of get derailed from the process. So really what can be helpful in kind of narrowing down all this information is check in with ourselves. What clicks? Is there a certain saying that, really resonate with us? Or is it just makes sense logically, but emotionally we don't feel it? Throughout this process, it's easy to get stuck in our head. It's easy for the cognitive parts of us to kind of take over. We almost want to push that aside and allow our gut, our emotions, our feelings to really dictate, all right, what feels right? Something's missing, doesn't make sense, or yes, that clicks, that's it. So notice those movements, those feelings, those intuition elements. What's interesting is a lot of times, logically, those intuitions won't make sense, but they just feel right. So again, trust your gut. If it doesn't click, it doesn't click, and you will know when it clicks. It's hard to explain it logically, cognitively, but you will know when something clicks. So the next step is exploring the personal dynamics of the dream. So from a Jungian view, dreams connect to us as a person. And you'll see that the more you look into the various schools of thought with dream interpretation, certain categories, or excuse me, certain theories have different perspectives on what dreams entail. Jungian is in the camp that every element of our dreams relates to us on some level. Similar with Gestalt dream interpretation, things in the dream connect to us, and it has some sort of meaning and message to our day. So let's explore the dream material and ask ourselves, how does this dream relate to me? How did I act in the dream? And how is that different than I do in my waking life? What are the people doing in the dream? And how does that connect to me? So who are the characters in the dream, right? It can be helpful to describe the characteristics of the actors, the people in our dream, right? What do they look like? What are they wearing? How are they acting? Who are you in the dream? Are you the person you are now, or are you someone else, right? Are you the age you are now, or are you a younger version of yourself? Are these people anyone you recognize in your real life, or are they some fictional character? What's really interesting with dreams is we can have characters that have multiple meanings. So the appearance may be someone that we know personally in our life, but in the dream, they have that appearance, but they may go by a different name. Sometimes we can have people morphed, uh, where they look like one person and then they may change throughout the dream, but they're still that person. There's a lot of fluidity on the characters, and it's important to, or it can be important and helpful to kind of keep track of that. How would you describe them? How are they acting? Are they acting differently than you think they should? Are they acting congruently to the situation? What's going on? Again, do they remind you of anyone? Do they remind you of yourself, possibly? With that, what characteristics or traits do you share with this character? Again, from a Jungian perspective, we will have elements of our personality that we kind of shun away, that we put into our shadow, or that we repress. And a lot of times, if we go from this perspective that the dreams, the characters in the dreams, the parts of our dreams are part of us, that how do we make sense of the characteristics of the personalities of the characters? What parts exist in the dream that connect to us as a people, as a person? So again, exploring what characteristics do I share? How does that make you feel when you write those out? Again, what thoughts or associations come up as you write this through? So another component is pay attention to the setting you are in. Where are you located in the dream? What activities is going on in this dream? Does it fit the location? Do you fit the location? And how are these things connected? Are they connected to anyone you know in your personal life? Are they connected to other components in the dream or previous dreams? So I'm throwing a lot of information at you. Understand that this is a process rather than a procedure. So what I mean by that is you don't necessarily need all of these questions, and don't feel like you have to have a checklist. Every dream is going to be unique in their own way. This is more of a facilitation. This is more to kind of promote the process of really kind of sitting with the dream and exploring the dream material in a kind of getting connected with it, I guess is the best way I could describe it. So after we've kind of focused on any associations we have with the dream, the personal dynamics associated with the dream, how that connects to us as a person, now we want to take all this kind of deconstruction, right? We have all this information. Now let's kind of put it together, reconstruct it into some sort of coherent narrative, right? How would you summarize the dream? What is the dream telling you? What is happening in the dream, right? What is the theme of the dream? And then most importantly, what do you think the dream is trying to communicate? So the biggest thing with interpretation is we may not know the answer per se. We're almost creating a hypothesis. And again, going back to that intuition, does that interpretation fit? We're taking best guesses to what occurred in the dream and what is the dream trying to communicate. We can also kind of explore, like, how does this dream connect to previous dreams? What's interesting is if you pay attention to your dreams, there's going to be recurring themes and recurring connections. Dream information is going to kind of replay itself out. You'll have dreams with familiar settings, familiar themes, familiar characters. And what's really interesting is to notice the changes that occur. The themes may change, the characters may change, etc. Be aware of that too. Notice that there's any connections between the events in your life and the dreams that you're having. So one theory of why dreams occur is that it processes information throughout a day. And again, from my experience, the more time you spend analyzing, interpreting your own dreams, you'll see what information is kind of a reviewing or retelling of your daily life, what information is kind of new and kind of seems like it comes from out of nowhere, which can be really interesting to explore. What information is related to our past, and even what information is kind of connected to what's going on as a culture and society. And finally, from a Jungian view, there's also what we call collective unconscious information. So really going deeper into archetypes, myths, stories that are really emotionally powerful. So kind of I'm digressing in a way, but what's interesting to know when we do this dream work, you will see that we can have dreams that we'll call little dreams, which is really kind of a reprocessing of events that happen during the day. Or then we can also have big dreams, dreams that really have a lot of emotional energy and that seems to be connected to something larger and outside of us, right? Typically, how do you make that distinction is big dreams are dreams that when you wake up, you can't shake. And a lot of times, if you ever talk about dreams to someone, it typically is a big dream. There's something that you know, that was significant in some capacity, but I'm not really sure how. And again, this process can be beneficial in trying to, you know, make sense of what occurred in that dream. Finally, before I move on, we've talked about exploring events in our lives, connection to previous dreams, and also sometimes, again, this is not Jungian, this is more Freudian, but dreams can be wish fulfillments. What is occurring in the dream that I wish I had in my life? What is something I'm craving for? And I put grave rather than crave. A good Freudian slip, I guess. Anyway, finally, with all this, you want to see the whole picture. What is the dream telling me that I already knew, right? Sometimes things can be obvious. We can have repetition of themes. Yeah, I already knew this, but that's important. Why does it keep coming back up? If I had knowledge of this information, what is it telling me that this theme keeps coming up? Maybe I have to do something different. Maybe I need to take a different perspective of this information. So we can also ask ourselves, what information of this dream did I not know? And how is that important to me? Is there messages from this dream that I am ignoring or denying? And then why? We can give ourselves some sort of compassion with that. Why am I kind of stepping away from this information? Am I not ready to hear it? Do not feel safe enough? What is it that I need to kind of sit with this information in order for me to kind of process it? So what elements of the dreams can I own for myself? And even, again, from a Jungian view, the characteristics in the dreams or actions in the dreams that seem to really go against us, how can we integrate that? How can we have compassion and empathy for it? What is it trying to tell us? And again, the biggest thing with Dreamwork is how can I use this information for growth and change? And that leads us to our final step, ritual. So when we hear ritual, it's easy to have the association similar to that picture of some major gathering ceremony with a lot of, kind of powerful symbology, some sort of actions we have to go through on some sort of celebration, ceremony, etc. But rituals can also be very, very small. And essentially, what it is, it's a process to represent some sort of action. So, with dreams, we're going from the internal symbolic world, and now we want to make it external. It can still be symbolic, but we want to go from internal to external, take some sort of action. So, with all that information in the dream, how can I incorporate that knowledge into my life? Is there an activity or symbol that can honor the information? So, again, trust your gut. As you're writing this out, asking those questions, what comes to mind? It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be, again, something small. Just a simple ritual to kind of close all the dreaming work or the dream work is you could do meditation, honoring the space you're in. Putting the dream notebook away on a shelf can be a form of ritual. There's some sort of action to represent some sort of acknowledgement, acceptance, and even kind of commitment to grow and take this information to help us grow and change. So, again, in closing, we're going to end there. Threw a lot of information at you. It's maybe feeling overwhelmed. And again, I just want to remind you, this is not a procedure, it is a process. It is some sort of guide step to make sense and to help us work with dreams. In addition to, this is one of many different dream work kind of processes. And so really it's finding out what works best for you. Some dreams, this process works great. Other times, we may need to, get assistance from someone who is trained in dream analysis, or even talk to someone who's not. Just talking it through can be beneficial. In addition to, if we may not have the message from that dream, it's okay. As we live our days, more associations may come up, and even at night, we may have dreams that continue the message or is presented the message in a way that we're ready to interpret and understand. So really, this process is just a way to allow some sort of reconnection with our internal world. So thank you for your time. I hope this gave you some ideas on how you can possibly work with your dreams in the future, and I hope the best. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to end there. Thank you, and have a good day.